How are we all feeling this morning? How are you feeling? You're going to be better, don't worry. Did you stay up for the disco last night? Enjoy it? Oh, make it a bit louder, come on. Did you enjoy it? It's getting better, getting better. Right, okay, in a minute we'll have Peter Davison and Nicola Bryant for you. But before that, we've got to do a few announcements and the housekeeping stuff for those of you who didn't hear it yesterday. Okay, videos and cameras. If you could keep all flash photography to the first couple of minutes of each interview and to the end of each interview to save distracting everyone on stage. And video cameras are fine so long as they are out of the way, they don't cause a hazard, and there are no trailing leads across the passageways. Fire exits are clearly marked everywhere. If you hear the alarms, leave the building, please. Wear your badges at all times in the convention area. If the steward asks you to do something, please do it. They are acting in your best interest. They're here to make sure everything runs smoothly, so please do as they say if they ask you. And on the same point, if you have any problems at all, do see a steward, tell them, and they will try and sort it out for you. Don't leave your personal belongings lying around, especially in the main hall. They will be moved if they are left unattended. And any lost property will be taken to the registration desk out in the lobby, so if you lose something, go and see them as your first port of call. Okay, convention packs. You've all got your convention packs. Just to briefly clarify the autograph arrangements, you've been given 10 tickets in your pack. These can be used in exchange for autographs for any of the guests. If you want to purchase extra ones, they cost £1 each. You do not need tickets for signing anything you've got, like the Battlefield posters or any of the photographs being sold by the actors themselves. You only need them for the things you brought along yourself to be signed. There is a competition, a crossword in the back of the compact. Fill that in, hand it in at registration by noon today, and you could win a wonderful prize. Don't ask me what it is, but you could. And at the end there's a questionnaire. If you'd like to fill that in and give us your views, then that's very useful for the future. There are non-attendee compacts available at registration, so if you want one for your friends who couldn't make it, go and see them and they'll sort you out one. You may have heard about, you probably know about the changes to the guest list. Sarah Sutton was unable to come due to other commitments. William Russell and Deborah Watling both have stage roles now. We had Tom Baker with us yesterday as one of the replacements. Michael Sheard is here. Peter Purvis was here yesterday. Unfortunately, he's not here again today. Joining us today for the only day is Peter Davison, who you'll see in a moment. One other person who may have come along but was involved in another production is Sophie Aldred, and she's got a message for you.
Hi everybody, hope you're having a great time. And I'm really sorry that I can't be with you, but I'm involved in a new production. This is Adam. Say hello everybody. Hello. He hopes you're having a nice time as well, and we'll meet you soon.
We can't possibly follow that introduction, can we? What was the crucifix at the end? I'm slightly worried by that. Exorcist-like. Hello.
Morning.
Hello, hello. That's good. How are you today? Refreshed?
Oh, well, no, but yes, we're here.
we're very refreshed. We're raring to go.
We're full of energy.
Can't see anybody, just flashing lights.
Okay.
Right.
Right, so straight into it then. This weekend seeing the launch of the audio CD Red Dawn, which saw you reunited as Doctor and Perry again, after 15 years. How was that? How did it feel?
15 years ago,
Right.
Sorry.
Not quite true, but we'll probably come on to that bit later on. I didn't actually know that. It comes out this weekend, is it? Red Dawn?
It's been on sale. I think people have already bought it, probably. Have you?
Very good. It was fine. It was like, wasn't it? It was good, wasn't it? It was like we hadn't been away.
Natural. That was
Yeah,
alarmingly
exactly.
natural. But
Exactly.
it's
And they're
not
quite
like
fun to
time.
do, these audio things. You know, you just get together in a little studio in Fulham and have a good time, really.
How does it compare with television?
Well, of course, the benefit of doing it on radio is you don't have to run down the corridors. That's quite good. And it is quicker, and you don't have the BBC technicians turning the lights off at 10 o'clock either. So you can just sort of keep going. And they buy us a very nice lunch in a pub.
Sounds
So
good.
it's more than the BBC ever did.
So do you get someone else to do your running down the corridor sound effects?
Yeah, I think they do that. The Foley artists do that later, and they actually stand in there sort of sandpit and do it.
So you might have seen that last night, some of you in our radio play, which Nicola was in. You remember?
Yes, sorry, just,
It's Kmart.
we set the dog off now.
Its tail is wagging. What's that about? Wait, shut up. Stopped.
That's the first time that ever worked.
The power of the Doctor.
Even Tom couldn't shut him up.
I think there's Tom inside there, isn't it? Just couldn't bear to be away today.
Okay, what can you tell us about Red Dawn, the CD then, or the story?
What can I tell you
How
about
much can you tell us about it?
the story?
Yeah.
I just really wish you hadn't asked me that.
Can you remember it?
I can remember it. Red Dawn's about Mars.
It's sort of Apollo something.
Right, that's
in
it.
Mars, isn't
It's
it?
Apollo
But
something.
it's a lot
yes.
better than that film. I don't know if you've seen that Mission to Mars.
Not seen it.
Who's seen it? Save your money.
What's my daughter in it?
Yes.
Is that- yeah,
Yes.
yeah, Georgia.
George is in it.
My daughter's
She's very good.
I'm very glad.
Apparently, the producer told me so
Oh, that's
yesterday.
very good, okay. Well, he specifically mentioned my daughter was
He
very good
did,
as opposed
yeah.
to anybody else.
Yes.
It's like my mother. So whenever I'm anything in anything on television, my mother always tells me how good everybody else is. I don't think she's ever once mentioned me at all. And so I was in it. Do you watch it? Yes. Well, I thought Diana Rigg was very good. Yeah, sorry. Apart from that, I can't tell you much about it really because
I can,
I don't
but it
want
would
to give the
ruin
game
it. It
away.
would ruin it. That's the point.
No clues at all then? Not giving anything away?
Anything what? You mean like behind the scenes?
Well, anything at all.
About the story?
Yeah.
Well, it was about.
It's set in space, and really,
I mean, you see, the trouble with it being released today is that normally when I come along to, Doctor Who conventions and people ask me questions about stories that we did during my time as the Doctor, I can rely upon you lot out there to tell me any details about the story which I've long forgotten. But sadly, as it only came out this weekend, I probably can't rely on you to tell me about the story, can I? I mean, I've done a couple since then, you see.
Oh, tell us about that then.
Well, the Doctor was there. They're good, actually. I do like the stories because it does give them. Colin Baker's very fond of saying that he thinks that it's almost the best place for the Doctor on audio because you can, the sets are cheaper. I'm not sure about that actually. I'd rather see it back on television, and I think maybe Big Finish can do it. But in the meantime, until we get that together, so I've got a pair of shears that can cut the tail of this thing. Until we get that together, I think the audio CDs are good, and I think they do give opportunity to scriptwriters to do whatever they like really, and you can set a story on Mars, and it probably looks it's a heck of a lot better than it would be if we were doing it in Studio 8 of the BBC. So. Witness time flight. Sorry.
Okay, when we look back at the time you worked together on the programme, it was a time of complete change. It's coming to the end of your era as the Doctor. Nicola, how did it feel when you were joining the programme? There's an established cast there, how did that feel?
great. I was a big fan of Peter Davison.
Yeah, give me a.
Amy later. No, it was an exciting thing to get. Obviously, first job out of drama school, a very established series. It was very exciting to do it. Of course, when I joined, I had no idea that Peter was leaving, and everybody managed to fail to tell me, except for on the 6 o'clock news. So that was a bit sort of like, it was alarming in the sense that what you're trying to do when you get into a series, especially when it's established, is to find your feet. And there was that sense of sort of just finding my feet and then, oh, whoops!
Yeah.
And then you so wound me up. And I never get to have this conversation with you.
Oh, quite excuse us, won't you, please? Yes.
Yes, because you so wound me up when Good luck.
No, you got the wrong idea. That wasn't winding you up.
All that, you know, well, if you have any problems, you can always give me a call. Of course, I have no influence on the show whatsoever.
And was I not right?
Well, you were. That was his own.
I think he did the exact same about me, though, didn't he? Colin Baker? I was just getting my revenge anyway because the bugger had taken over my part, you know.
He ruined your costume.
Yeah. And they tried to keep it a secret because Colin had already been in the series and he'd already killed me, well, shot me, well, did something terrible to me anyway. And then I discovered that he's taking over from me. And this is after the smokescreen of John Nathan Turner trying to tell everyone it's a woman, which was the standard smokescreen. Every time they changed the Doctor, they tried to sort of put the press off by saying, oh, it could be a woman. And I don't think it ever once crossed John's mind that it could be. But yeah, I can't even remember saying that, but I'm sure that it's I'm sure I meant it. No, Colin. He's not here this weekend, is he?
No.
Good.
So how did it feel, Nicola, that a few weeks later you were basically the most experienced member of the cast? You were the longest running member.
Yes, I mean, I suppose it really was more like a couple of months, I don't know, 2.5 months or something like that by the time that Colin arrived. But we had this weird thing where I thought I was still the newcomer, because I was still new, and Colin felt like he was the newcomer, so it was practically a newcomer competition. And so I was he was expecting me to welcome him on board, which I thought would have been rather presumptuous for someone who had been in the series as a companion for a few weeks. Yeah. So it was a really very tentative sort of start for both of us. I think we were both very nervously finding our feet, which we did, but it was a very, it was just a very nerve-wracking thing, because you feel so responsible if you were the only link between one episode to the next. It's a lot to carry.
First story was Lanzarote, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
That was fun. And someone showed me this picture quite recently of us, like me in the evening, like a James Bond. Yeah, like James Bond and Ursula undressed. It was quite cute. It was good. That was the Star newspaper who
that was
somehow,
our day off, wasn't it?
Yeah, who somehow managed to inveigle themselves on this trip to Lanzarote. Because we were there for a week, because at that time you could only get into Lanzarote like on a Tuesday and leave on a Tuesday. And it was quite good. And I don't know if any of you have been to Lanzarote, but it's a volcanic island, and they went there and they decided that they would film, because it does look very beautiful. There's hardly any vegetation on there. And the trouble is that the sort of volcanic area is a national park, and you're not allowed to walk on any of the volcanic areas, which is odd really, because it's just ash. But every time we tried to film on there, within about 2 minutes, the Spanish police would turn up and arrest us or drag us off screaming. We had some fun there though, it was a good week. I think we kidnapped a turtle.
It was like 12 hours sleep throughout the whole week.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yes, there was no sleep, no.
Nicola was saying yesterday how hard work it was. You didn't get a break. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, there's more to that.
No, it was really hard work.
It was hard work, but it was also incredibly good fun that week. I think we sort of, we'd get back very late because most of the locations were like 2 or 3 hours away by coach, weren't they?
They were long, but they took a long time to get there. My memories of filming on Lanzarote are not the filming at all. It's actually lying out by the pool at the hotel.
When did you find time for that?
We did it. I remember because we tried to get down there before the Germans did. Great battle. And we kidnapped a turtle, I remember that.
That was like 4 o'clock in the morning.
And then somebody borrowed Peter Wyngarde's Jeep and rolled it down a hill and wrecked it. I remember that. Some of my main memories really are of that.
I remember Mark walking into a cactus.
Oh yeah, vaguely.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, vaguely,
and he didn't make his makeup call because he had half a cactus in his head.
and Peter Wyngarde playing the part as Lawrence of Arabia.
Yes. And the hunt for the false eyelashes.
Oh really? Do we have that?
Yes. False eyelashes. How many pairs of those can you find in Lanzarote?
And he wore clogs too, Peter Wyngarde. That's quite interesting. So we digress. I'm so sorry.
That's fascinating. Moving on to Keza Andrzani, was that strange for you, Peter, working with just Nicola after you'd had Janet fielding with you since the beginning? Mark Strickson had just left as well.
Yeah, I suppose it was. I actually quite like the idea of the Doctor with one companion, because when I joined TARDIS, there were just too many of them. You know, I was sort of surrounded by companions. Most of them hated me. I mean, there was only really Sarah's character Nyssa, who liked me. Adric was pretty pissed off at me most of the time. Janet just didn't want to be there. And then, of course, we had Mark turning up who wanted to kill me all the time. So it was quite a relief to get back to sort of one companion, really. It was quite nice. Yeah, it was good. But as I said, it was only two stories, and Caves of Androzani was at least a great story. By Bob Holmes, and you know, he'd written a lot of the early ones, and it was a nice story to go out on. Except my final shot did star Nicola Bright's cleavage slightly more than it starred me, but apart from that, it was fine.
Not of my own device.
No, of course not. But I mean, it was.
But then somebody tried to poison me.
What? What, really?
That file with the milk in.
Oh, I remember the file, yeah.
We only had time to shoot it once, because it was so short of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the stage managers, whatever, had washed out this file with the bat's milk in it. And to make sure that it was completely clean, they put Dettol in it.
Nice.
So they'd washed it out with Dettol, and then they put the milk in. You know what milk's like, it just soaks up every odour and flavour. So when Peter actually poured this bat's milk, I thought, oh my God, what the hell is this?
I thought it was acting.
No chance, mate. I was just like going, I wanted to just get up and go, I can't do this, I'm being poisoned.
But what must bat's milk taste like anyway? I mean, you're probably better off with Dettol.
So there was lots of chaos towards the end of that.
Yeah, there was. But then there always is. I mean, when I took over from Tom, you know, his last story, and him changing into me was just complete chaos. I mean, I think there was just too much to do. And,
yeah.
You know, and you wanted to make it good, but.
You said that you didn't like the idea of having so many companions at the start. Do you think it was any influence of yours that it got reduced slowly through the time you were there?
I didn't actively didn't like the idea. I mean, I was just very happy to be doing the part, but it soon became obvious there were an awful lot of them around. I suppose so, yeah. I mean, well, God, we're going to move on to Adric soon, aren't we? I can tell. But I just said to John, I did think that there were too many. It was a question of who went, and it was Adric. And then that was fine with me, really. I didn't particularly mind being in the TARDIS with two girls. No hanky-panky. But then, you see, magically in the second series, they lost most of their clothes. He's getting very excited by that. The moment I said that, who is operating this thing? Yeah, I suppose to a certain extent. I just said that I did feel it was better to have fewer companions, or at least after Turlough's arrival, I remember saying to him, I thought it was quite nice to have companions who actually liked the Doctor. And I know Mark felt the same, because he was kind of, we had to lock him up during most of the stories, otherwise he couldn't explain why he wasn't trying to kill me. So yeah, as I said, it was quite nice to get back to one. But by that time, I'd already decided to leave, really, at the end of season 2. So season 3 was, just sort of working through my sort of contract. I mean, I knew I was leaving, so there was no way, what I'm trying to say, no way Nicola's arrival could change my mind by that time.
Would it have changed your mind to make you stay? Were you tempted?
Oh yeah, I begged. But Colin just didn't want to sort of, give up the job.
Do you want to talk about Adric?
Adric, do we want to talk about Adric? I'm very happy to talk about Adric. Whatever happened to Matthew? Where is Matthew? I don't know. I don't know where Matthew is.
I heard he's in America.
He's in America?
So you can say what you like.
Yeah, what's he doing in America?
I have no idea.
He's not acting.
Windows
is he?
or something.
I don't know. He was perfectly nice. He was perfectly nice, Matthew. But he wasn't really an actor. I think when he did the audition, John told me that he had a very nice speaking voice. That's why John gave him the part. And when John told me this, it was sort of by way of an apology. But he did get. He had some magical moments. He did entertain us a lot. And I know I've repeated this, but magical moments for me, it was things like telling Richard Todd how to act for the camera, which I think is a classic thing. And Richard Todd was very good because he didn't kill him. And he got very upset. Not upset, but he was slightly disturbed about the fact that he was being blown up. It seemed a hell of a good idea to me, but I just thought, what a great way to leave the series, because no one forgets you. You know, if you slip away, Sarah left the series, Janet left the series, and they kind of did the classic companion thing of saying at the end of the 4th episode, "Oh, Doctor, actually, I think I'm going to stay," you know. And whereas Matthew was just blown to smithereens. But he was slightly worried by this, because it sort of prevented him coming back into the series, as if there was a chance of that. Anyway, sorry, I'm sorry. You see, you make me be horrible about Adric. I don't mean to, Matthew. Wherever you are in Los Angeles, just don't act.
Did you think that, Nicola, before they added the line to say that you had in fact survived, did you think, if I go out this way, I'm not going to come back ever?
I'm in agreement with Peter on the whole kind of how you leave the series, and that I think drama is the key. And I came in to see Janet's last episode was when I came to the studio and met everyone. And I saw Janet filming this, goodbye doctor, shake hands, send you a postcard thing, and I thought, ooh, that's a bit lame after all the time that you've spent with this, amazing Time Lord travelling through
That's
space.
what you do, shake hands.
Shake hands. Ta-da, that was lovely, It just seemed very strange to me.
Yeah.
So the idea of doing something dramatic was definitely what I wanted, and I'd asked John for something dramatic. And I never thought in terms of, that means you can't come back, because you're a time traveller, for goodness sake.
That's true. I think Matthew did come back, didn't he? As some kind of hallucination.
Is it about point?
Yeah.
So I just thought it was so easy that you could be in another dimension somewhere. I mean, I just thought the Doctor Who's so limitless as to how you meet people. It just didn't bother me at all. I just thought, dramatic, head shave, yes,
Mind you, he hasn't come back in any of the big Finnish productions yet, has he? Yes, okay.
There's a suggestion. Okay, Fifth Doctor and Perry were reunited for Dimensions in Time.
Yes.
Back in the anniversary, whenever that was.
What, Dimensions in Time?
Yes.
That was the For Children in Need.
30th anniversary, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was
what the heck was that about? I have no idea. I did ask John Nathan Turner, he had no idea what it was about. So it was fun to do something, but it was a shame that we didn't do a proper story. And that was because BBC Enterprises cocked it up. But at least we did something, although no one could understand it. But maybe that's quite nice, I don't know. I mean, what was it about? What were we doing?
I don't remember, I just remember being cold. I just remember having to wear a great big coat, and lots of people have shown me photographs of, I took a picture of you because we're in the middle of London being followed by Cybermen.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I think I was just on the EastEnders.
You were on the EastEnders set.
Yeah.
And there was all that crazy filming because you had to keep moving
It was
all
3D,
the time.
yeah, so they tried to make it look as if it was 3D. You had to keep moving. It was kind of 3D. It's not really 3D. The only way it looks like 3D is if everyone's running around in circles.
I actually feel quite sick watching it.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was, as I say, it was nice to do something for the anniversary. It's just a shame it wasn't a proper story, I think.
Yeah.
How long was it filming for? We were all there on the same day?
I think I did my bit in just one day, because I was doing something else. But if everyone did just like little bits here and there, I think it's sort of thrown together. But it was, John got it together, which was very good.
Nicola, you've been involved in many spin-off projects since your time on Doctor Who, notably like the Stranger videos with Colin. What's it like playing with him and yet not being the Doctor? And sorry, what's it like acting with him?
That's all right, actually.
Well, you can ask you about Colin. I warned you.
You did, you did. It's great. I mean, we are very good mates, and I'm going to tell him everything Peter said. No, we are very good mates, and we love working together. And it is one of those things that, starting out in Doctor Who, I had no idea how lucky I was to be working with actors of the calibre of Peter Davison and
Is someone paying you to say this?
No, I've been brainwashed. But in a way, it's true. You don't appreciate the situation until you find yourself, and rarely do you find yourself in a studio with so much pressure and tension and lack of time. Whereas now the whole idea is you don't get any rehearsal time. It's just sort of on set and do it. And I hadn't realised actually in a way what a good rapport I had with both Peter and Colin, and it was instantaneous, like going back to do the CDs. So once you've gone away and worked with a couple of people that you think, oh, I really hope I don't work with them again, you then suddenly appreciate how good it was with other people, and I sort of, I would love to do a lot more work with both of the Doctors. Dog is going to be killed in a minute.
Yes, yeah.
So I love working with Colin because we get on very well, and there's sort of like a shorthand when you know somebody. You don't have to go through all that sort of getting to know the person as quickly as possible, and you reach a performance level much quicker.
You mentioned rehearsal time. In the days when you worked on Doctor Who, you would have had rehearsal periods, then gone into the studio. These days in television, it's just a case of you have your lines beforehand, you quickly go through it before, and then a few seconds later it's filmed.
Yeah.
How do you feel that affects the performance and the interaction between the characters?
There's far less time to argue with the director, which is actually, might sound funny, but it's actually very important if you find yourself at odds with someone. You may not know, you've done an audition or something, and the next thing you know is you're filming it, and the director has one idea, the producer has another idea, you've come up with, and you can be at complete odds as to what the performance is going to be until like 2 minutes before they're shooting it, and you then have to go with whatever the director's decided. It's difficult because you haven't had that time to sort of mull over ideas together and work something out with the people that you're acting with. If you're lucky, you might have seen them on the location, or not in the hotel the night before you're filming.
Yeah.
But there's so little rehearsal now. It's
I just think it depends. It depends on how good the script is. Because sometimes if you have a good script, then you don't need that much rehearsal. It just sort of all comes together. So it just varies. Also how sort of at home you are with the character. That's the way it affects me. Sometimes you can do things and you don't need any rehearsal. You can just get the script, and if the character, you understand the character. If it's the character's a bit of a problem, the script's not so hot, I think it does show the lack of rehearsal. In theory, it should work out about even. If you're doing a film, for example, the way films used to be done, you would get quite a long time because you would, between the time you sort of blocked it, the time it was actually shot, you get a bit more time. In this rather sort of high-tempo days, you don't really get that much time, more time than you would do in a TV studio. As with Doctor Who, where we rehearsed it for 10 days. But I think it just depends. Some sort of scripts are not very good, or maybe sometimes you just don't feel like a very good actor. That's why I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But having said that, when you look at it, really, you don't really kind of notice the difference. I mean, sometimes I can do things I've rehearsed and think, oh yeah, I've really got this. And I look back and think, I'm rubbish. And sometimes you can do something where you think, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then when you see the end result, you think, oh, it's just not so bad. So I don't know. I think it's other people have to. So we know how we feel about it. It's not so good, but maybe it doesn't make that much difference.
Do you prefer television to theatre?
I do. I prefer television to theatre. Yes, I do. I mean, television in terms now, which is mostly film. So, it's fortunate that I do I don't know, I've always felt that I like the idea of a group of people, disparate group of people coming together and ending up with a definitive product which is there, you know. Whereas with the theatre, I enjoy it a great deal, but I do find it slightly frustrating that when you finish, it's kind of gone. That's it. All you have is sort of memories. You know.
Yeah.
But it is nice to be on stage, no doubt about that. But I do still, if I'm honest, prefer working in television or film. Hey.
I think my favourite moment is rehearsal, really. Especially with theatre, I love that finding the character and the unlimited experimentation that you can completely go up the wrong way with a character and take them far too big before you pull them back and find something new. And I particularly like working on new plays where you're starting the character out yourself. It's not tainted by the fact that somebody else has played this before and somebody saw this production and they thought it was particularly good done this way. But I love doing television. I love working with the camera, so in a way, whether it's television or film, I love the camera. But for me, what I enjoy most about being an actor is the versatility, the variety. So what I like to do is something different from what I've just done, because I think that kind of makes me feel fresh. So after I've done some television, I like to do some theatre, and then I go back and do some film, do some radio, and it's the moving between all of the medium that I enjoy.
Okay. Peter, you've been quite a regular face on television over the last few months. Can you tell us a bit about what you've been working on since Battlefield 2 last year?
Yes, I did. I think at the time of Battlefield 2 last year, I was working on just stop it. Mrs. Bradley Mysteries, with Diana Rigg playing Inspector Christmas, which was fun, I think. Except they had to grey my hair because I was a bit too young, because I meant to be flirting with Diana Rigg. Well, I thought it was funny. So anyway, they tried to make me look older by greying my hair, and when I look back, I thought they didn't need to grey my hair. I do look quite old. That was fun, and then I turned out to be a baddie in that. Actually, I turned out to be a murderer. Yeah, which was tough because I couldn't tell anybody, because it was just this typical inspector who was a bit of the idiot inspector. In these sort of programs, you have the very clever amateur sleuth, and then you have the idiot detective who always gets the wrong man. And so that was the part I played for two of the stories, and indeed most of the third story. And then, of course, I turned out to be actually the murderer, which is good. I enjoyed that. And then I went on immediately afterwards to do At Home with the Braithwaites, which again I played a bit of a shit actually, which is quite nice. A bank manager having an affair with his secretary. I'm sure you may know, or you may not know the story, but whose wife, unbeknownst to him, wins £38 million. And we're about to start, in 6 weeks, we start the second series of that, so we're doing second. Good! And they promised me I can have a good car, so I think we're going to get a Porsche or something like that. Probably never get to drive it, except for about 50. Usually in these situations they say, oh, you're going to get a Porsche because your wife's got £38 million. You think, wow, they bring the car along, but because it's a sort of brand new Porsche that costs £50,000, you're usually only allowed to drive it for about 15 yards before someone else takes over for the action shots. Anyway, I think it was quite successful, Braithwaites, and it was good. It was great to do because it was what I was talking about earlier. It was a situation where we had no rehearsal really. We had a couple of days just sort of looking through the script, but the script was so good that we sort of didn't need the rehearsal. And it was rather disturbing to me how easily I slipped into playing this awful character actually, and I discovered I would say some of the lines in real life. There was one line where one scene where my wife wants to adopt, a daughter gets pregnant, and my wife wants to adopt the baby. And I say to her, do you know how much a baby costs? It costs, £96,000 a baby, just from 0 till sort of 16. And that's not private education or anything. And I found myself saying this in real life because I've just got this, we just had this baby. And I found myself saying to Louis, You're going to cost me £96,000. Cost of a Lamborghini. Anyway, but I'm very pleased to be doing another series of that.
Okay, and anything you got lined up? Well, Nicola told us a bit yesterday about what you got lined up for the future, but for the benefit of those here today, would you like to tell people?
Yes, I just did a casualty episode, and I've got an episode of Doctors which goes out next week, and then I start rehearsals for a new play next week called Dinner with George, which is a new farce, and it stars Marty Webb and Peter Baldwin.
Dinner with George.
Yeah, do you know everyone has this one. I think there's a film. Maybe somebody isn't there some film called Dinner with George or something? There's an old somewhere.
There's Sunday in the Park. There's Sunday in the Park.
That's the Sondheim musical.
Yeah. And then there's something.
It does sound very familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah. You say you've done Doctors?
Yeah.
What thing with Chris Timothy?
Yeah.
Oh, what was it like?
I didn't work with him.
Oh right, okay.
I only met him in the
All right, okay.
coffee room, but I didn't do any scenes with him.
Yeah. So you're in Casualty as well. So you've got
Yes.
two patients.
No, I get to play two mothers. I've just made it into motherdom.
Oh my goodness me!
New casting. I thought I was going to play single women for the rest of my life. But major change. 2000 means I get to play two mothers, and so that's a great new change. But now I'm now going to play a Wolverhampton Birmingham housewife who's into leather and husband swapping. Typecasting.
George, I know this. Why do I know this? Well, I must come and see it. So, husband swapping.
Yes.
Right.
So that's got you all keen to visit, hasn't it?
Keep that. How about you, Peter? What have you got lined up?
Well, I'm doing this at home with the Braithwaites for the next 6 months. Because there are 8 episodes. There were only 6 in the first series. They're doing 8 episodes now, so that takes me up until November. So, Lord knows what I'm doing after that. I have no idea at all. Actually, I don't think I want to know. That's not my son, is that?